This is Mac here from JLPTBootcamp.com, here with another N5 grammar lesson. This time we're going to go over asking about what kind, or asking about the content of something, or asking about how much or how many. These are some basic question words that you need to know for the N5 level. And again, you're in a casual situation with your girlfriend here over dinner, so you're speaking casual Japanese, and she asks you, nanno hon, which is what kind of book do you have? Kind of more like what's the content of the book that you have is a very verbal way of saying that. And you answer Nihongo no hon. So I have a Japanese book, probably a Japanese textbook or a Japanese book in general. The subject of the book is Japanese, the language. And she asks, Mainichi benkyou suru no? And basically, every day, do you study? Do you study every day? And you answer, so desu. So your answer is, yes, I do. I study every day. And this first question is nanno. And it's very similar to what kind, but it's a slightly different. You're asking for slightly different kind of information. You're basically asking about the content of something. So nanno hon, you want to know the basic, you want to know the subject, kind of the detail of the subject of the book. We're going to go over another way to ask about what kind, dona, in a little bit, but basically this is more specific and detailed in what you're asking. It usually is translated as what, but it's obviously Nani is what. So this is a slightly different variation of that, where you're asking, it's kind of like it's a more general what, basically. So for example, you could ask a question here in polite Japanese, nanno hanashi o shiteru no desu ka? So what are you talking about? What kind of conversation are you talking about? Hanashi is like talk or conversation that you're having. So what kind of conversation are you having? More like a detailed, we're talking about X, Y, and Z, and giving you information. So it's that kind of what kind of question, if that makes sense. You're asking about the content of something. Now, there's another way to ask what kind. For example, conversation continues. Your girlfriend asks you, Dona ongaku ga suki nano? You answer, roku. So she's asking, what kind of music do you like? You answer, rock. I like rock. And she answers, watashi mo. So me too. I like rock music. Now this is the other way to kind of ask what kind. Again, nanno is more like what, asking for detailed information. Dona is a little less specific in general, so to speak. It's used to ask about what kind. So, for example, asking about what kind of music, or in this polite sentence, Dona kuruma ni notte imasu ka? So, what kind of car are you driving? Do you have? What kind of car do you use? And the answer to this question would be a very general question, a very general answer. So it's an SUV, it's a compact, that is generally the answer that you'd be looking for, that you would get when you ask this question. If you asked nanno kuruma ni notte imasu ka, with the nanno, you would probably get an answer of the specific brand. Like it's a Toyota, or it's a Toyota Prius, or Nissan Leaf, something like that. That's the kind of answer that you would get with nanno. So these can sometimes, nanno and dona can sometimes both be translated as what kind. But in general, if you ask a native, and I've done a lot of research on this lately, but if you ask natives will tell you that nanno is something more specific. You're asking about the content of something in particular, whereas dona is more less specific, more generalized, the what kind of thing that you're talking about. And sometimes these can be kind of interchanged, and they'll basically have almost the same meaning. You'll get almost the same answer if you use them. And sometimes you'll hear even natives interchanging them in different kinds of questions. But there are some situations where they're 100% used with, for example, dona ongaku. That's always that combination. I found a few examples where people ask nanno ongaku, but most common way to ask about what kind of music you like is dona ongaku. So this is something you kind of have to get an ear for. On the JLPT N5, they probably will not really quiz you on the differences between these two questions. So don't freak out about it. My advice is go try to use it, see what kind of responses you get, and get a feel for how this is used instead of just studying a bunch of grammar rules about it. Go out, use it, see what kind of answers you get from people, and kind of get a feel for how it's used. So continuing on with the conversation, your girlfriend asks, "CD wa donokurai katta no?" So she's asking you, how many CDs did you buy? This is a little outdated. Maybe people don't buy CDs anymore, but you answer, 30枚 kana. So you're thinking, which is the and then 30枚 is 30 CDs. Mai is the counter for flat objects, like sheets of paper. And kana is you're guessing, you're estimating, like you kind of think, I'm pretty sure it's this. So she used donokurai, and there's another version of this, dorekurai. They both mean how much and how many. So there's kind of two basic patterns that you use these in. First one is topic plus wa, which is wa is the topic marking particle. Donokurai plus some kind of adjective, and then deska is des is the copula, of course, and then ka is the question marking particle. Now, in this first pattern, you're basically asking how adjectives, so how tall, how big, how far is how you would ask. If you want to ask that kind of question, you would use that first pattern. Second pattern is topic plus wa plus donokurai plus verb plus ka. In this situation, you're asking about how many or how much of the topic the verb is using. So, like, how many pizzas did you eat? How much money do you have? This is the kind of the structure that you would use to ask those kinds of questions. So, for example, here's an example in polite Japanese. Eki made donokurai kakarimasu ka? So this is how much does it take to get to the station? So this is a little ambiguous. Usually this means time, distance, how far it takes to walk there or drive there or take the bus there. It could potentially mean how much money you need to spend to go to the station, but usually I would interpret this as the distance, how long it's going to take you to walk or ride your bike or whatever to the station. Eki is station, made is to, so eki made is to the station. Now, you might be wondering, donokurai, dorekurai, I talked about two words here. What's the difference? Actually, there's kind of 4 different variations of this to ask how much or how many. This word, if you want to call it that. And all four of these are valid, and they can be used fairly interchangeably. Donokurai, donokurai, dorekurai, dorekurai. Now, according to corpus data, it looks like donokurai is the most used, dorekurai is the second most used. So, when in doubt, you just use donokurai. But if you've been to Japan, you'll realize, the more you travel, the more different variations you'll hear, and different people saying different things. And of course, there's dialects that are completely different. But just be aware that there's 4 different ways to actually say this, and people are probably going to use all 4 different ways. So let's get ready. Are you ready for the pop quiz for today? Can you translate this sentence? What flower do you like? What kind of flower do you like? So key here is, what flower do you like? More specific kind of flower. We want to know the name of the flower. And that answer would be nanno hana ga suki desu ka? So again, nanno, you're asking for something very specific. This is often translated as what. So what flower do you like? It sounds a little weird in English, so we would probably ask, what kind of flower do you like? Do you like roses, or do you like tulips or whatnot? That's what you're looking for. Now, if you ask this with Dona, you would be asking for more of a description of the flower. I like red flowers, or I like long flowers, or tall flowers, or bushy flowers, or something. You're describing it. You're not naming the specific flower that you like, if you used Dona for this question. Second pop quiz here is, what kind of work do you do? How would you say that in Japanese? What kind of work do you do? And you would say, Dona shigoto o shite imasu ka? So Dona is what kind, shigoto is work, o is the object marking particle, shite imasu is the progressive or continuous form of do, basically. This means doing. Ing is the te imasu form. And then ka is the question marking particle there at the end, making it a question. Now, last pop quiz sentence to translate is, how much money do you have? How much money do you have? And that in Japanese is, okane wa donokurai arimasu ka? So okane is money, wa is a topic marking particle, donokurai is how much, arimasu is exists, is the literal translation, but in this situation is have, and then ka is the question marking particle. And one thing to note here is, of course, the Japanese word for money is kane, and sometimes I think if you look it up or something, it doesn't have the o in front of it, but you almost always want to have o kane. This is a mistake that I made a lot when I first started studying Japanese. It's kind of feels disrespectful if you drop off that o and you just use kane. It sounds kind of uncouth and crude if you drop that o. It's one of those one thing that you should keep on, even in kind of casual speaking. So that's it for today. Today we talked about nanno, asking about the content of something, being very specific about the kind of thing that you're asking about. It's basically kind of translated as what, but it kind of has a feeling of what kind. It's not as specific as Nani, but it's not as general as Dona. And then we talked about Dona, That's asking about what kind of thing that you like, or you do, or you're talking about. And then we have donokurai and dorekurai, or donokurai and dorekurai, asking how much and how many. You can ask how tall, how big, with that first pattern there. And the second pattern is how much or how many of an object you did something with. Those are the two different patterns that the common patterns that you use those with. So that is it for today. If you know anyone that is studying for the JLPT N5 exam, I'm sure they would love it if you forwarded this video to them and helped them out with their studies. So go ahead and do that, make a friend, and until next month, keep studying. This has been a grammar explanation video from the JLPT Bootcamp Premium site. Inside the site, you will find some extra goodies, for example, some cheat sheets for all of the videos. And those cheat sheets include a few things. For example, some common mistakes that people make, as well as some example test questions for the JLPT. If you're interested in taking the JLPT and you want that extra edge, something to kind of push you above and get the points that you need to pass, I encourage you to stop by the website at jlptbootcamp.com/premium. There you can find the cheat sheets, as well as some extra practice with the grammar points that I've been talking about today. Hope to see you in the premium site very soon. This has been Mac from jlptbootcamp.com.